50 years ago today, this very spot was alive with the celebration of one of the greatest feats of humankind, the first intercontinental railroad. There was an undeniable energy in the air with the anticipation of all the new possibilities and opportunities that lay ahead. Here at Promontory Summit on May 10th, 1869, was the most important place in the whole world for one glorious day. Imagine with me what it would have been like so many years ago. Just scan across this vast, uncharted landscape. And our country was in the middle of a civil war. President Abraham Lincoln, a former railroad lawyer, looked to the future and saw the importance of not only physically but symbolically tying our fractured nation together and signed into law the Pacific Railroad Act.
Thank you, dear lady. Allow me to explain my thinking. I have always been fascinated by trains and have ridden the rails every chance I had. Growing up on the frontier of Illinois, I could look out to the untamed west and see that moving goods and traveling by rail was our future. I want to introduce you to my friend, Theodore Judah. Theodore, come on out. He loves trains even more than I do.
I'm just crazy about trains. My whole life has been dedicated to the idea of a transcontinental railroad. It will be built and I'm going to have something to do with it. I have an idea, Mr. President. What if we make one railroad line that comes in from the west and another that comes in from the east? They could meet up in the middle.
Crazy, Judah. He took his big ideas and told them to anyone who would listen. He made the treacherous ocean voyage around the tip of South America 3 times, trying to convince politicians in Washington, D.C., then the ones in California, and then back again.
Each trip took 6 weeks, but that is much shorter than the 6 months to travel on land. A transcontinental railroad is the only answer.
I've been thinking that same thing.
Well, hello, Dodge. You're just the man I've been waiting to talk to. This is Grenville Dodge. He's a great engineer and surveyor. Dodge, what's the best route from Pacific Railroad to the west?
We will start around Omaha, Nebraska, and then continue out west along the 42nd parallel. It's good and flat all the way to the Rocky Mountains. The other railroad will start east out of Sacramento, California. Then they will meet here, somewhere in the middle.
Yes, we can pay them for every mile of track they lay, making a great race to the finish.
Stop! Wait a minute! Who's gonna build it? We're gonna need men. Lots and lots of men.
They will have to be strong and not afraid of death.
Yes, they'll all have to work together in spirit of unity and teamwork.
The ironic thing here is that the men that built the railroad were none other than the outcasts and the persecuted of the nation. And these misunderstood people who struggled to find their place in America ended up being the very ones that helped unite the entire country. They were brave men who literally changed the American way of life, who in pursuing their own American dream, made millions of other Americans' dreams possible. Coming from the east, working for the Union Pacific Railroad, were the Irish.
Scan across the vast uncharted landscape.
Young veterans of the Civil War, the Irish immigrants were seen as a rough, hard-drinking people who preferred settling their disagreements with their fists.
Pray to God that luck be on my side.
And while it is true that they played hard, they also worked hard and were set on getting a piece of the American dream for themselves.
Feel it in my bones that fair work and pay. We'll find it all again in no time.
And coming from the California coast were the Chinese.
Scan across the vast uncharted landscape.
They were seen as strange and suspicious foreigners who kept to themselves and their traditions.
Show the path my family spirit guides.
But between the gold rush of 1849 and the work of the railroad, they were chasing opportunities to chase their destinies as well.
Who knows what fortune waits beyond the tracks? Maybe that's the goal we're gonna find. Cause when you realize what you really want, you hold on tight and you don't let go. I won't stop till I claim my own, till dreams in the end combine in my hand as one.
And working right alongside of the Irish and the
across the vast uncharted landscape.
Even though they helped to win the war, many people still thought of them as property less than human.
My chains are gone, delivered by the Lord.
Working on the railroad provided not only money for these newly freed men, but for a chance out of the south and for a new start westward.
The promised land is just around the bend. We're reaping from the seeds the Lord has sown. 'Cause when you realize what you really want, you hold on tight and you don't let go. I won't stop till I claim my own, till dreams in the end combined in my head as one.
And they did work together as one.
Teamwork!
Remember, there were no machines back then. This was going to be built by their hands, by their bare hands.
And by their hearts and their minds. While some of the men worked on the engineering and inventing new things, like brakes, the cowcatcher, and the railroad lantern.
Other men rolled up their sleeves, picked up their shovels and hammers, and got to work to lay the actual track.
We're going on this land, 'cause one is one, as one, as one, as one. 'Cause when you realize what you really want, you hold on tight and you don't let go. I won't stop till I claim my own, till dreams in the end combine in my hand as one, as one, as one, as
It was work. Really hard work, as you can imagine. Back-breaking work performed sunrise to sunset, 6 days a week in all kinds of weather on all kinds of terrain. From the heat and harsh winds of the Great Plains to the unforgiving and bitter cold of the Sierra Nevada and Rocky Mountains. Out here today, you can almost hear the echo of those endless days spent long ago. The rhythmic sounds of the hammer against steel, the explosions of black powder felt in the chest, even music, the songs men would sing to help pass the time.
The clank of the hammers down against the rails, the slamming of the metal raining down like hail, takes me right back to the war against the South, fighting for our freedom to get my brothers and sisters out.
Day in and day out, the shouting of the men brings me right back to the wailing of the dead. The same friends I had there on both sides of the war. Side by side we work here among the dust and sweat and ore. Oh, how long
Till the sun gives away, doing all the work no one else would take, left with the echoes ringing, ringing in our ears. The crack of explosions rip away the rock. They become so familiar, we were forced to take our lot. From the mines of the gold rush, the cost has been too high, to the high Sierra Mountains, where they gambled with our lives. Oh, how long till the sun gives away, doing all the work no one else would take, left with the echoes ringing, ringing
After a long day, you would think these hardworking men would eat some supper and call it a day, and perhaps sometimes they did. But sometimes they would grow weary and restless with the sameness of their daily lives and have a need to just blow off some steam.
For the entire Central Pacific Railroad, and he needs his sleep. Now tuck yourselves back in.
Out here, women were as scarce as a bathtub. In fact, there was only one woman who witnessed the building of either railroad from beginning to end, and what a woman she was. Hannah Maria Strobridge came out with her husband James and was determined to make a home for herself and him and their 6 adopted children. An ordinary passenger car was made into a 3-bedroom home on wheels. She was honored with the title the Heroine of the Central Pacific, and indeed, she was heroic to the men of the railroad. She bandaged their wounds while they told her of their troubles and nursed the sick back to health. She had a big heart and was quick to smile, and they loved her for it.
Another day's done as we reach down the track. It's hard to let go of the need to look back as the train moves on. How it seems we don't. We're a raggedy group of misfits with pride.
made up 90% of the workforce on the western portion of the line. The railroad could not have been built, let alone finished, without these thousands of nameless Chinese men. They were little understood and largely invisible to the men who employed them. The Iron Road, as they called it, stands as a monument to the Chinese worker, his unsurpassed work ethic, and ultimately his immense influence in forging the American West. But perhaps no one group of people suffered or sacrificed more for the ultimate success of the railroad than the Native American. Their traditions, their lands, sometimes even their sacred sites were trampled and dishonored by the advancement of the road and the men who came with it. Foreign diseases devastated entire tribes. The buffalo, their main food supply, were shot down for sport. Many of the tribes fought back in protest, sending their warriors to attack the workers and disrupt the progress. But the sheer size and scope of this massive undertaking was eventually overwhelming. Between the deaths of the warriors, widespread starvation and disease, the proud Native American was involuntarily compelled to accept his new circumstances and place in the hierarchy of this new America. There was one more group of people who we haven't even mentioned yet. These people had known more than their fair share of persecution, as they too were unlawfully forced from their lands and homes. Known for their hard work and industrious spirit, these refugees were in desperate need of money and opportunity. As the construction of the railroad drew near their sanctuary in the desert, these exiles, the Mormons, saw their chance and jumped to be a part of the action.
I'm out to beat the sunset for a chance I won't pass by. It's like we hold tomorrow right in our hands. Crops and persecution pass through trial by fire, and up against the odds we still stand.
With the surge of Mormons joining the ranks in the fall of 1868, construction on the railroads accelerated on both sides. This raised the stakes, pitting the Union Pacific against the Central Pacific in a colossal race to the finish.
By this time, the workers were so efficient they could lay down track at nearly the rate of a man walking. Think of that.
When the Union Pacific boasted of laying 7 miles of track in one day, Charles Crocker, one of the 4 founders of the Central Pacific, put it to his men.
Men, I challenge you all to best the mark of 7 miles of track in one day set down by the boys of the Union Pacific. And let us show them what we are made of by laying 10 miles of track in one day!
The proof is all around us that right now is our time. We set our sights on the jumping line against the odds.
And so, in the gray light of the early dawn, these men began one of the greatest feats of human determination the world has ever seen.
We're so close we can taste it. No time to turn back now. No time to turn. It's like we hold tomorrow right in our hands. And the likely family brothers, we've been pushed down every mile. And up against the odds, we still stand. It's like we hold tomorrow in our hands. The last target left against the odds, we still stand. The proof is all around us, and right now is our time. We set our sights on the jumping line against the odds.